Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Westminster Kingsway College, part of the Capital City College Group, and this first event for Westminster Enterprise Week and Global Enterprise Week that we are hosting here today at Westminster, alongside our friends from Visionnaires, Pablo, who's been working very, very closely with the college now for a number of years as we move forward to work closely with Visionnaires, and of course Unloc, which is with Hayden here as well. So I'm really inspired because just that little bit of conversation you're having with Pablo there, we've got a real diverse bunch of people here with differing thoughts, needs, inspirations, ideas, different stages of your journey, ready to start to talk to the panel that we see in front of us today, to try and get as much out of this as possible. And to see you guys here at such different stages of your journey already, and being as innovative and brave as you are to start thinking about the next steps for your business and how you want to become an entrepreneur and how you want to drive your own business, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And it really, really warms my heart to know that we can actually do this here at Westminster Kingsway College and be some sort of conduit in order to start to kickstart your aspirations. And I know that the session you're going to have here this afternoon with Hayden at the helm and supported by Visionnaires and Westminster Council as well is going to be pivotal to how you want to take that forward. So please squeeze as much as you possibly can out of these guys you see up here today, because they can help you every step of the way. Without any further ado, enjoy today, get as much as you can, and I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Super stuff. Thanks, Gary. What a pleasure it is to be with you here to kick off Global Entrepreneurship Week, and what an incredible panel we've got as well. Apologies for a slightly late entrance. I was doing a session with young people here just before this session, and we had some really interesting discussions about what it takes to set up your own business. So the format of today is we're going to have a really interesting, hopefully lively discussion for about 45 minutes with our wonderful panel, and we're then going to open up to the audience for questions. So we've got about 45 minutes for Q&A, for us to really dive into these issues and to benefit from the experience of the wonderful people that we've got on the panel today. So if you're thinking of questions and they're popping up as we go, please do make a note of them. We'll come back to them in that second session. So really excited to get stuck into this, and I think what we'll do just to kick us off is to introduce ourselves. I'll kick off and then we'll go down the line if you like. So my name's Hayden Taylor. I'm the Chief Executive of Unloc. We're a non-profit social enterprise, and we work largely with young people on helping them to develop the skills they need to set up their own business or to be leaders in their community. And we grew from, I guess, a really small kind of seed in my hometown when I was 16 to now I'm 25. We hold contracts with over 500 educational institutions, and we have a team of 25 people that deliver our programs across the UK. So I have had a fascinating journey, an exhausting entrepreneurial journey, but I hope that I can extract all of the good knowledge from these wonderful panelists today. Casita.
Yes, so my name's Casita. I've got a business called Positive Links, which I've had since 2006. It's mainly an educational consultancy, and I also deliver, I can recognise some of you here that have attended the Start Your Own Business course. I also deliver that, and I've also got a property business that I do as on the side. You can talk about that's sort of not the side. Also, and really what I'm hoping to do is share my own experience of my journey, where I had an idea, like you've got an idea, you've got the skills, you've got the experience. It's like, where do you take it to the next step? How do you move it forward? So that's what we're all hoping to help you with today.
Hi guys, my name's Phoebe. At the age of 17, I set up my own performing arts school in St Albans in Hertfordshire. Have been running that for however long. We support a lot of vulnerable and disadvantaged young people get access to the arts. More recently, we've set up our sister community interest company, which is our youth programme, which helps support those young people get access to the arts. And then even more recently, I've become co-founder of a talent agency for young people, literally in the past like 2 weeks. So yeah, that's me.
So funny to hear that everybody who has this entrepreneurial mindset isn't just ever doing one thing. I think you guys will probably all feel that. We're never satisfied with just one path. I'm Danny, and I'm the founder and managing director of Get Stuffed, where we make seriously good platters. We do corporate catering, all types of catering, and our focus is on highlighting local suppliers and being eco-conscious. So all of our suppliers are local. We only use local suppliers from within the UK who are conscious of their eco-conscious practices as well. We only use eco-conscious and recyclable packaging too, and we're all about having a bit of fun and bringing more of a gender-neutral approach to the traditional cheese and charcuterie board that you usually see around the place. And of course, yes, I have a side hustle as well. So my main thing that I studied and my background is really in digital marketing. So I also do a little bit of marketing consulting on the side, and I'm working with a company at the moment called GrowMofo, which is a really good kind of intermediary between a large agency, which maybe smaller businesses like us can't afford, and also doing everything yourself. So they kind of fill that middle ground of helping with social media strategy and advertising that's not going to cost you a fortune. So I do a lot of work with them as well. So yeah, if you guys have any marketing related questions afterwards, happy to chat through those as well with you guys.
Fabulous. So much expertise and such a variety of experience on this panel. So I think we should just get stuck in, shouldn't we? Let's go for it. So Casita, kick us off. How did you get started? How did you take that first step?
Well, on the train on the way down here, I took some notes just so I could remember some of the key things, because actually my journey began such a long time ago. When I looked at that question, I had to really think about it. So it was, I didn't initially think that I wanted to start my own business. I knew that there was something about the freedom that can come with working for yourself that I was interested in. But what had happened is I was training, I was delivering a course for teen parents in Haringey, and I would watch some of the learners on the course. And I remember one day, one girl had her hand under her chin and she was so bored she fell asleep and slipped, and I just thought, this course is not really fit for purpose. I had a conversation with the head of 14 to 19, and I just said, there's a few gaps in this course, and you know, if I were delivering it, if I were running the whole thing, I would probably add in this and that. And he said, well, put something together and come back to me. He says, have you got something, a program that you could deliver? I said yes, and I hadn't even put pen to paper, it was just an idea. So I thought, okay, I said yes, yeah I can. He says, well, get something to me by the end of the week. I had to make it happen. At the time when he said that to me, I was like, yeah, fine. And I turned away and went, oh, what am I going to do? But I just thought, okay, who in my network do I know could do the artwork for me? Who do I know that could speed type? Who do I know that got connections to a printer? And I had the program in place. And when I first saw my business name, Positive Links, working in connection with this big college, I just thought, wow, I almost felt like a bit of a fraud. But I did know what these learners needed because I'd been on the other end of that program. So I pulled all of that together with the expertise, and I was rolling out this program. I managed to get a team together within the month or so, and we started to roll out the program across one borough. It was successful, and I went to another borough, Enfield, and suggested that they run the program for their young parents in Enfield, and to my surprise they just said, yeah, go ahead, if you've got a program, go and deliver it. So that was my first experience, and the freedom that I had to develop a program that I knew worked and that I would enjoy delivering, and that would actually, the young parents that were on the course would actually leave with something. And the course was quite a significant course for the young people, because some of them were on core group meetings, which meant that their participation on the parenting course could make the difference to whether or not social services and the courts deemed them able to keep their children after they were born, because they were both children. So that was my first experience, and it just snowballed from there. I started being asked to develop other programs and be involved in other strategies, and then I haven't looked back, and that was in 2006. So I don't know how many years ago that was, but yeah.
Incredible. And a word that kind of just shone through for me was resourcefulness. How you were able to bring all of your networks together, your speed typers, and I'm hoping that people in this room can be each other's resources. there's such an eclectic mix of expertise in this room, and I hope during the networking break at the end of the session we can all learn from Casita's resourcefulness as we're developing our own ventures. Thank you. And I'm going to come over to Danielle next, and I'm going to ask you to stand up as well, because we've got people right at the back that need to be able to hear, but also we're live streaming as well to the millions of viewers at home. So if you wouldn't mind, Danielle, standing up. But
sure.
Same question, how did you take that first step?
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys can't hear at the back, just give a little shout if we need to raise our voices at all. But I am probably one of the very few people who is grateful for COVID. Scared to say that out loud, but I guess it gave me a chance to reflect on what I was doing previously and recognise that I wasn't really feeling fulfilled in my previous roles. So Get Stuffed only launched this year in March. We're still a very young business, so still towards the start of my journey, as many of you guys are. So again, if you have any questions about that, then I'm happy to answer, because we are still a baby as a business. But I have, I've played around with business before, so I kind of fell into my first business in Australia, which was also a catering company, but it was very much get started by accident, just because a friend asked you to help with something, and then it just, again, snowballed and grew into something. But I never really felt prepared, and I never really laid strong foundations for that business, and as a result, it never grew to a point where I knew it was going to be a big business. It was always just in my head a small business that I'd kind of fallen into. And after that, I started and was running a digital agency with one of my best mates at home, and that was fantastic. It was, a shared responsibility, and by the time I left there, I was the first employee, and we had 30 staff working remotely across the world with lots of clients. But I was working over here in London with my team in Australia, and again, during COVID, I got a chance to go home and work with my team in real time and connecting with them in the right time zone, and it really made a difference, and it made me recognise that I didn't really feel fulfilled doing that from over here. So decided to leave that, and I came back over to London and had a bit of time off, and I'm very grateful that my parents gifted me a ticket to one of Tony Robbins' seminars. Mixed reviews on Tony Robbins. Luke saw me doing it and still thinks it's a bit of a cult. It's my fiance. But I would really highly recommend something like that to anybody who's feeling a little bit lost. It came at a great time for me, and it helped me to realign with where my passions, really lay, and that was in food. And I love the marketing side of things, but it just wasn't ticking every box for me. So that's why you'll hear me talk a lot about the eco-conscious side of things with Get Stuffed, because it was really important for me to start a business that I felt aligned with my personal values, and I wanted to do something that wasn't leaving the earth worse off than when I found it. And sometimes, the evil side of marketing creeps in, and you work with clients that you're not really proud to work with and things like that. So it wasn't ticking all the boxes for me. And that's kind of how I decided to start Get Stuffed.
Good stuff. Thanks, Danielle. And I'd really encourage you to check out the Get Stuffed website, but not when you're hungry, because my gosh,
No, you should check it out when you're hungry and then place lots of orders.
But fabulous business, and thank you for sharing that useful insight. And London's lucky to have you. Phoebe, same question. How did you get started?
I kind of fell into running my business at a very young age. And shall I stand up?
If that's okay,
yes.
That'd be great.
So I fell into running my business at a very young age. I had no idea that running a business was going to be the thing that I was going to do. I was 17, 18 and felt very lost. And doing apprenticeships, and I was floundering. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I did the typical take a gap year. Took a gap year, and I've always been a performer, singer, dancer, and I just said to my mum one day, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I set up my own acting school? And we literally designed a logo on a post-it note, and the college she was working for at the time sneakily printed me some flyers, which was great, and the ball kind of rolled from there. I had 4 students in my first class. One of them was my sister and one of them was my cousin, which was great. And then, just snowballed. And then in 2018, I took over. I had a lady who was running a performing arts school in the same area who approached me and said, I want to leave my performing arts school, but I don't want to leave all these kids behind. So I took over her performing arts school. We merged, rebranded, and now we have over 250 students across Hertfordshire, and we help 10 different families a term to get access to the arts, because we all know how important the arts is to helping young people. And that's how I kind of fell into running my business and starting my business.
Fabulous, thank you, Phoebe. Really interesting that both in your story and Casita's, there's not necessarily a huge amount of intentionality to some of this stuff. Some of it just happened. Opportunity presented it to yourself. But what is really clear is that you were able to grasp those opportunities and take full advantage of them. So this kind of masterclass was all about how to succeed, right? But we all have our own definitions of success. Some of us might want to, be able to live in a mansion and have 10 Teslas. But for others, success can take lots of different kind of angles, or we might have our own definitions of success, right? And I just want to kind of chuck that question, if you like, and to challenge our panel to think about, how do you define success? And I think if we come to Danielle first, and then we'll work our way around.
The reason that I have a big smile on my face is because when Amanda and Pablo asked me to be on the panel and told me that the topic of the panel was how to succeed, the first thing I said was, I don't really know if I'm going to have much to be able to tell everybody about that, because we're so early on in our journey. And I guess my definition of success, when I picture that in my head, was originally reaching the pinnacle of the goals, the ultimate goals that I had for this business. So, we're not doing that yet. We're not making millions and millions of pounds a year. We're not sitting in the supermarket shelves or anything like that. And I think I've had to reevaluate what success really means to me. And I would say that it's just whatever you need to get you through that day and reassure you that you're on the right path. Some days success is getting an order for 200 people, which is fantastic, and obviously wish that was happening every single day. But some days success is just waking up and thinking, it's been a really hard week and I'm having some doubts at the moment, and I'm just going to keep striving and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to put my head down and just tick the things off on my to-do list. And the next morning you think, you know what, I'm really proud of myself for doing that. So I think that for me, success is whatever you need to do and feel and recognise on that day to just keep yourself moving forward, because it's not always an easy journey, and you're often going to come up against things that make you feel doubtful, or make you feel stressed, a lot of stress, make you feel isolated. It can be a bit of an isolating journey, especially if you are a startup or a small business and you feel like you have to do everything yourself. So just recognizing the little wins. Sometimes it's just replying to that email that you've been putting off, or getting a good review from somebody, or whatever you need to keep striving you forward, I would say.
Thank you. Casita, what does success look like for you?
I think I was thinking about this on the train on the way down, and I have to agree with you that success is it's different for different people. And I think for me, it might sound a bit corny, but actually being able to do work that is meaningful is success for me, and then getting paid for it is a bonus. So one of the contracts, as well as working with Visionnaires and delivering the programme for them as a programme partner, I also deliver business studies at a secure unit for young people between the age of 10 and 17. And they're in the secure unit for various reasons. Some of them are in there for welfare reasons, but obviously they can't leave. And education is really the key. To me, that is the key that could break a cycle. They see themselves as being in a very negative position, and actually being able to create their own employment is a real strength. And I can see them coming alive in the lessons. They're always asking, when are we going to have business studies again? So for me, that feels successful, because not only am I providing for myself an income, I'm actually making a difference to people who are vulnerable, who are disadvantaged, and so for me that feels like success. So
Thank you. Really powerful words. And I really believe that there's no point in creating businesses for business's sake. You've got to do something that you're passionate about and that gets you out of bed in the morning. Phoebe?
I really struggle with this question, because I feel like I still don't know what success is, and yes, it means so much to so many different people, and resonating with what Casita said about doing meaningful work. For me, I work with young people from the age of 4 to 21 and teaching them not only how to sing, dance and perform, but teach them how to be better people and to be amongst a family of similar children. And I think success to me is watching those kids come through the door not being able to actually speak or sing a line or do a dance, and then 2 months down the line they're playing the lead role in their school play because they've come to our class once a week and they've made the bestest of friends and have, you know, sung songs. And I think that to me is what my success looks like. And just touching on the money side of things, because everyone feels, I know a lot of people feel when you talk about money like it's really grim and gross and I don't want to talk about money, but it's such a big thing in business, and it's something that I've really, really struggled with, because I provide a lot of help to vulnerable and disadvantaged young people, because I want them to have access to something that they wouldn't have access to because financially they can't, or, you know, their parents haven't heard about it, or... But by doing that and by being kind, maybe sometimes too kind, that money's come out of my back pocket and I've suffered. So I think the money side of things and success when running your business, yeah, maybe in the first year, 2-3 years, you won't earn money and take home a profit. But it's really important that, I believe, that when it comes to your success, yes, you've got to do something you're passionate about, but yes, also you have to pay yourself and you have to go home and be able to pay your bills. And so one of the successes for me in the past 6 months is that, well, a few years ago I moved out, and then I moved back in and had to live with my mum for like 4 months and sleep in the same bedroom as her, which was just horrendous. Love you, mum, but... And then my biggest success, because things in my personal life just went absolutely up the wrong way, and then my biggest success is being able to pay my bills again and move out and be in my own place. So I think money definitely has to come into it, so definitely something to think about.
Wonderful. Lots of food for thought there, and I think we'll touch on that in a bit more depth,
Yeah.
Phoebe, actually, because it's a really interesting point. How do we know, at what point should we start paying ourselves a proper salary? Is that from the outset? You know, how do we achieve that in reality? And I hope food for thought for everybody that on that question around success. What does success mean to you? Perhaps something you can all ponder on and reflect on as we dive into this next section. So I'm going to build on that topic, Phoebe, and ask the panel about their top challenges. And I want you to think about that in a general context, but I also want you to think about challenges you've had with money, okay, and your relationship with money. So we'll go over to Danielle first, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, I can't count to 10 basically, even on my fingers. So money has definitely been a huge challenge for me. Even just my mindset around money and finances, you know, in my personal life. And probably don't want to hear someone standing up here talking about business who can't even control her own personal finances. But it was a big wake-up call for me to have to face that, and to have to recognise that actually, if you're going to do this, you need to confront those issues that you have around finances and be willing to make an effort to understand that area better. So yeah, that has always been my number one challenge, and especially is my number one challenge with business is finance. Are we separately going to talk about how we overcame those things? Or
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about, you know, your strategy to addressing that.
So I guess my biggest piece of advice there is just to know what your weaknesses are, and also know when to ask for help. I knew that it was something that I couldn't do by myself, and I knew that I had to ask for help. So when I got to the stage that I needed to start planning the financial side of the business, I asked one of my best friends, who's a financial analyst, if he could help me build our forecast. And once we started working together, and he was starting to understand my vision for Get Stuffed, and he could see the business plan coming together, and he could see my passion for the business. He's now become our financial director, so he's one of the directors of the business, and he's become one of our investors. So just by asking for help and having that conversation, it's not only put my mind at ease that I have somebody to not completely take over all of the finances, but to help me and teach me what I need to know, and to have someone on board who is an expert with those things. But also it's helped to, you know, take our business in a different direction and bring somebody on board who is driving our business in a different direction, as opposed to just having someone create a spreadsheet for me. So yes, finance is number one. The second thing I would say is just resilience. Like I said before, it can be tough and it can be tricky, and there are a lot of days where you have doubts, and, you know, it's no joke owning your own business. It's no joke getting into this. And obviously you guys are here because you have the right kind of attitude, and you wouldn't be sitting in this room if you weren't a go-getter and you weren't taking steps to head in that direction. But there are going to be days where it's really tough, and just having the right support around you. Best friend and fiance have come to watch me today in the front row. But having the right support around you to make sure that when you have those tough days, you have people who aren't just going to say, oh, it's going to be all right, but they actually know what happens on a day-to-day basis in your business, so that you have someone that you can talk to who really gets what's going on and can provide you with some great advice. And the last thing has been isolation. Like I mentioned a bit before, it can be an isolating journey when you're a one-man show and you're doing everything yourself, and all of the pressure's on your shoulders, and maybe your friends and family and whoever else aren't on the same journey. They don't own their own business. They get to leave work and shut off and leave everything at the door, and maybe don't understand why you can't attend something or why you're making financial sacrifices. So I connected with some other people who are starting their own businesses through courses that I did through Visionnaires and some other courses that were available online, and set up a little business group. So once a month we catch up on a Zoom call, and it's just a chance for us to vent and chat and have an opportunity to talk with people who are, sharing the same experience. And like you were saying, that, one of the things we talk about there is what do you need and what's missing and what could somebody potentially help you with in your business. So using that as a resource to, help not feel so isolated on that journey.
Amazing,
Yeah.
Thank you. And I really resonate with an awful lot of that, particularly the isolationism piece. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but we have so many incredible people in the room today. I hope that you leave with some new connections that can be part of that support network, because you're absolutely right. It's a unique position to be in as an entrepreneur, somebody that's self-employed, that's putting those personal sacrifices ahead of other stuff happening in your life. How do you create communities of people who understand, that get you? Really powerful. Casita?
Question was?
Challenges, relationship with money.
Okay. So I think one of the biggest challenges for me initially was I'd get a contract, I'd be asked how much it would cost, and I'd almost whisper the figure. I just couldn't say it out loud, and I could almost sometimes feel my cheeks burning. I felt uncomfortable. So that was one of the challenges. And actually, what I've learned is that had I had and been more confident about those conversations, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache and made a lot more money. But what I do now is I recognise, obviously, what it costs, what benefits and what it will actually save that company to have me working with them. So that's the point, and I like to have conversations about money right at the beginning, wherever that's possible, to just get that out of the way. I remember working with an organisation, and before I'd gone into business, I worked for the Education and Schools Funding Agency for a long time, so I knew a lot about funding applications, what money was out there. And I really wanted to work with this organisation, but they had no money. And I went away and I thought to myself, let me not walk away, let me see if I can help them to find the money to then pay me, and I did. And that was the solution. So I think that was a challenge. I think in the early days when I was just starting out, it was finding the time to develop my business. I can't find the time. I needed to work, I needed to do all the other things that happen in life, but how I needed to almost like take a step away from my whole life and just sit and develop my business. But the reality is, who can do that unless somebody gives them a whole year's salary or something? It says, go off and develop your business and you don't have to worry about money. But the reality is that most entrepreneurs are not in that position. So what I did is I created that time, and when I've got a contract or a particular piece of work coming up, I create an extra hour. Each morning, I'll get up an hour earlier and I use that to work. And you'd be surprised at what you can achieve with an extra 5 hours that you are dedicating just to developing that business or that contract. So that was a second challenge for me. I think, let me just check back on my notes just to see what else I had down here. I think it was belief. So I stand here now, my voice has stopped shaking now, but it was at the beginning. And in what I do believe that I'm skilled at what I do. I enjoy what I do, and I am good at it. But it's taken me a long time to be able to say that and really believe it. So then if you're going to others and inviting yourself as a potential to complete this bit of work, but you actually say, well, actually, I think I can do this. You can't use those sorts of words of an entrepreneur. You can do this. You know you can do this. So for me, I really needed to develop that. And that really happened for me by having a mentor. That made a massive big difference for me. And really that mentor was about me, helping me to recognise my worth. And once I recognised my worth, that actually helped to solve another one of my problems, which was the one about money. Because when you recognise your worth, then there isn't that uncomfortableness, because you know what skills you bring and what that is worth. So I think they were the three main challenges. And also, it's also thinking if the work sort of like dwindles, what do you do? And it's always about having that forward thinking and having the plan for the next piece of work or the next contract. I often listen to people that have got skills and areas of expertise that I don't have. I always take note and I always take their number. And then I can obviously go back to that person when the need arises. But I've developed a network of expertise, people that can do a lot of the things that I can't do, and I help them and vice versa. So I think, as I think Phoebe mentioned, it can be a lonely journey as an entrepreneur. You are on your own. You haven't got a team around you. But actually you can create that in the form of a network. And that's what you should do. And as Hayden's mentioned, you can maybe start doing that this evening with some of the people that are in this room.
Great, thank you, Casita. Really, really useful insights, and I hope people do take that seriously. I really am a broken record on this, but guys, look how many people there are in the room from different sectors with different expertise. If we could all just help one other person in this room, wouldn't that be a magnificent ripple effect? And of course, you've got the support of the Visionnaires network as well, through which there are various programs where you can access mentorship and other types of support. Phoebe, same question for you, really.
Challenge.
Yeah, challenges you faced and how you've overcome some of those difficulties we've talked about in terms of your relationship with money.
Yeah, so my 100% biggest challenge to date, and has been for so many businesses, sadly, has been COVID. I've been running my business for 6 years now, 6.5 years, I think, maybe 7. I can't quite remember. But due to the nature, I'm in the arts and entertainment industry. I not only run my own business, I work as a freelance kind of producer, production manager. Our industry has been absolutely decimated to the point where now I am potentially looking at getting myself what we call a muggle job, which is a normal person's job with a salary, because to give myself the breathing space financially to then be able to come, and still running my business, but to come back to it then full time in, you know, a year's or so time. COVID absolutely decimated my business. We went from running 15 classes a week with maybe 300 kids coming through the doors, with half-term workshops, with masterclasses, with West End professionals, National Theatre professionals, to being on Zoom. And it just is not the same in my sector. You cannot do a dance class on Zoom. It just doesn't work with young people who have clearly spent the whole day learning school through Zoom and then decide that they want to do a club, which is a dance class on Zoom. It didn't work. So we went from first lockdown to the kids being really enthusiastic about Zoom classes for about 4 weeks, and then we went from maybe 100 kids being signed up to like 25 kids being signed up to Zoom classes. We literally plummeted within the matter of months, which kind of brings in the financial side of things. Because we're a limited company, we had no funding. I got no government help. I'm one of the 3 million people in the UK who got no government help. Didn't furlough my staff because they're all self-employed contractors. I was a director, self-employed, didn't get anything. It was an absolute disaster. But who could have predicted a global pandemic? I think one of the things now is thinking in your business to think of, you know, what is the worst that could happen if literally your doors were to shut in your business? What would you do? Why? I've never been I like to spend money, okay? And it's very dangerous when you run your own business, because you just think, oh, I give myself 50 quid here, I'll go out for dinner here. But it just, and exactly, it's absolutely hilarious. It doesn't.
Get yourself an FD.
And then with COVID, it all just completely spiraled. So and I still haven't overcome that challenge because we're in the midst of it. We're still clawing back students whose parents don't want to send them back to classes. We're still now desperately trying to get funding or apply for funding, or we took out a bounce back loan which we're now paying back. It's I'm still in the midst of that challenge. So financially, I would deeply delve into your finances before you even start your business. I advise maybe not paying yourself for the first 2 years. But it is possible, 100%. I pay myself now, it's absolutely fine. I'm just waffling. I think COVID, it just messed it up massively. So yeah, and just that's the biggest challenge, and I'm sure it will be better soon.
Thank you.
That's it.
It was a really open and honest.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough, and to start a business in these times feels probably even more tough than it would have 18 months ago. But I think financially, just really don't be afraid to look at your finances and bring someone in who's looking at your finances and like, Phoebe, why have you spent £200 on coffee this month, or something ridiculous like that. So just really be open and honest with money and your relationship with money as well, because you learn your relationship with money from a very, very young age, and it's very hard to unlearn those things. So and I know it's so cliche at the minute, but working on your mindset and your money mindset. There's so many programs out there that help you rework and relearn the way you think about money and your relationship with money. It's really, really important.
Thank you.
That's a lot, sorry.
No, it's been, and do you know what? If I get another Zoom request
I can't
for
do
a
it
family
anymore.
quiz, I am going to go crazy. So I share your Zoom fatigue. And how lovely is it to have people in the room, right? Today, buzzing off each other's energy. That for me is really lovely. Just before we move on to our next question, just want to encourage people who are tweeters, Instagrammers, LinkedIners, please do post about today's event and any insights that you've gained. We're using the hashtag GW2021 to join the Global Entrepreneurship Week conversation, and hashtag Westminster Pop-Up for today's event, and you can tag Visionnaires into all of those posts. But thank you, really, really useful insights. And just on the funding point, there are two things that I also learned during the pandemic that were really helpful. One is how grateful I was to be able to have a bit of reserves and to try and to focus on having those reserves, because who knows what's coming around the corner, right? And the second thing was trying to find diversity in income streams. What are the different ways in which you can generate money? So if one income stream is cut off, you've got other sources of income that you can rely on. So perhaps a point of ponder or reflection really is with each of your individual ventures, how can you achieve diversity in income streams? Really good insight. So we've talked a lot about what it means to live through a really tough period, and it has been really tough over the last 18 months. I'm really interested to know what personal strategies you use in those moments of personal toughness. Whether it be going for a walk or whatever it is. What do you use to be able to bounce back, to be resilient in those types of situations? And I'll come to you, Danielle, first, if that's okay.
Yeah. I think the first thing that I try and catch myself and try and do when I'm feeling like I'm struggling is just recognizing how much I've actually done up until this point. Like I said earlier, it's easy to look at where I am and think, oh, but I'm not where I want to be. But it's so much nicer to look back and think, actually, I've done so much to get up to this point. So, even with things like our packaging, I use these boxes every day for all of the orders that go out the door and don't really give it a second thought. They're just sitting on the shelf. But that took weeks of research of all of the different types of businesses and competitors that I liked and didn't like. I put together a mood board. I briefed in my designer. We went through probably 5 rounds of changes because I'm annoying. And we finally came to the thing that I liked, and then I got a sample printed from our packaging company. First had to find the right packaging company, get samples from multiple packaging companies. We got our sample, and then we had to make up a box and put it in the fridge overnight and see how it lasted, and then test all the features and make sure that the quality was right and make sure that the size was perfect and it would fit in the fridge and fit in the delivery bags, and all of these things that you do to have this single output of a box that I now use every single day. So sometimes when I'm feeling like, this is tough, I try and just recognize how much I've done across every element of this business to get to where I am now. Even though I'm not where I want to be, it's all part of the journey. Another thing I try and do is remember why I got started. So if I'm feeling like I don't really have much motivation at a certain point in time, or have I made the right choice, am I doing the right thing, I try and put myself back into the mindset that I was in when I started thinking about this concept, and how excited I was and how motivated I was and how keen I was to ring my family and friends and ask for their input and advice, and telling people about the concept, and just knowing that it was going to work, and just putting yourself back into that mindset before you've encountered all these challenges and just thinking forward to where you want to be is a really powerful thing. And the last thing is just looking at all of the positive feedback that I've received. And I saw something the other day, I think it was on LinkedIn, that said somebody's got a folder on their desktop, and every time they get a nice email or a good bit of feedback or a positive review, they take a screenshot and they chuck it in that folder, and when they're having a shit day, they go through and look at all of those things, and it perks them up. And I don't have the folder, but I do troll back through those things, and it just helps to remind you that you're on the right path and you've got something good, and you should keep going.
Amazing. Thank you.
No thanks.
Phoebe, I'll come to you.
On the hard days, which there's been a lot of recently, that what you said about the folder in lockdown, when we were really, really struggling, we had some amazingly kind parents who we shut in the middle of, it was March, we'd shut in the middle of a term, so we had a load of money from parents already who'd bought their children classes for that term. So we said, we either keep it and we save it until the next time the kids are in class, or we can refund you. And so many of the parents just gave us the money back and was just like, just keep it. And with that, sent in so many nice emails that, me being a creative person, I'd print all the emails, cut them out, and I've stuck them all in a book, and found I found my very old end of year report from my teacher that said, you'd be a great director when you're older. And I was like, that's so weird that I found that, and now I'm the director of a company. So that idea of having all those positive comments to look back through when you're really struggling is definitely something to do. But I think for me, it's I've had to work on my mindset and myself a lot. So in the first lockdown, I started exercising really 4 or 5 times a week, and across lockdown I ended up losing 1.5 stone, and that completely changed my mindset. Eating really well, and the cliche meditation and journaling, without a doubt I do it every single morning, and it changes my outlook on the whole day. If you sit down and meditate for 5 minutes, you can find 5-minute meditation on YouTube. If you're having a really, really bad day and you're really, really struggling, just to ground yourself and be in that present moment, I think actually no one is dying. It's actually all going to be okay, and the business is not just suddenly going to disappear overnight. And just journal how you're feeling. Don't let it sit in your brain and in your mind. Get it out. I have the luxury of having a very incredible support network. My friends and family are amazing. Not everybody has that. So journal and write it out and get the feelings out, because being an entrepreneur and being in business, like Danny, you said, is no joke. It's not a joke at all, because it's really hard. And on the days where even if you're the closest ever with your mum or your dad, and you always at some point feel alone and feel like nobody will ever understand. So on the really, really hard days, just really ground yourself in the present moment, and literally exercise changed everything for me. So even if it's 10-minute walk, fresh air, 100%.
Great, thank you. And we're a bit tight for time, Casita, so I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to ask you to answer the question, what key piece of advice would you give to somebody just starting up their business? But I'll give you a second to think about that because I realise
Okay.
I'm springing that on you. But really great reflections there. And I think that it was the Dalai Lama that said, on a normal day I meditate for 1 hour and on a busy day I meditate for 2. And I think it's just a really interesting insight about how you can create space in your head to be able to properly think things through. When we get into that state of busyness, that that everything feels really overwhelming, we don't often give ourselves the headspace to properly think and analyse the situation we find ourselves in. Okay, Casita.
So, question again.
One key piece of advice you'd give to a business starting up?
Business starting up. I think it's really important to be clear about what your offer is. You've really got to be clear about what your offer is, focusing on that. And even if it means you've got to take time getting that right, or kind of right, before you start, it's so important. So I think clear about what your offer is. That's got to be clear in your mind, because you've got to be able to communicate that to others. So I would say taking the time to do that. I also think, I think one of you mentioned about looking at your competitors and what they're doing. You cannot underestimate the time spent on that. I remember about a couple of years ago when I started my property business, I had an area that I converted into a studio that I wanted to put on the Airbnb platform. I spent so much time reading others' reviews, what got them a good review, but also what got them a bad review. I got somebody who was very, very picky to stay in the accommodation and give me lots of feedback. But I know that with some of my the work that I've done before, if I go to my sister, my older sister, we're really, really good friends, her feedback will always be positive because she doesn't want to say anything that will upset me. But actually, you need feedback from people that are going to be brutally honest with you, because that's how you improve. So I think organise that within your network, be very, very clear about what you want to do, what your offer is, what your service or product is right at the very beginning. I think is useful.
Amazing, thank you, Casita. And it'll be the same question for you guys, but in the spirit of giving everyone time to think about questions, once we've heard from our final 2 panellists on this question, I'm going to open up to the audience. So get those questions ready in your mind, and we'll hopefully hear from as many of you as we possibly can in the 40 minutes that we have. Phoebe?
What was the question?
One key piece of advice.
Just start. There is never a good time to start. Oh, I'll start in January because it's like going to the gym, isn't it? Everybody, let's get a gym membership because January is the time to lose weight. And then I go to the gym and then you see all those new members drop off after like 4 weeks and the gym's empty again. Just start, because there's never a good time. Even if you've not even got a customer yet, it doesn't matter. Just get it out there, get it started, because you never know. And another quick piece of advice, network. Talk to everyone and anyone, ever, in the street, wherever you are. Talk to them, ask them about what they do, and arrange a meeting or a coffee, and they will know someone who knows someone who will give you a new opportunity, who will know a customer. That's my advice.
Thank you, Phoebe. And played into my broken record of the incredible network we have in this room. Danielle.
Yes. So many, so I hope you guys ask questions about things that I can feed this into. But yeah, my number one bit of advice is similar to Phoebe, but it's more so for when you're starting or planning the direction of your business. It's talk to everybody, anyone and everyone, about what you're planning to do. I can literally sit here and backtrack from where we are now, every direction that we've taken in our business because of the conversation that I've had with somebody else, whether it be something as simple as me telling a friend of mine that I want to create a business that does platter boxes and everything that we do is eco-conscious. And in my head, I thought that I had to create an eco-conscious type of brand that was visibly eco-conscious. So green and brown colouring and had lots of earthy kind of logos and things like that. And a friend of mine said to me, why don't you do something that's really bright and vibrant that people want to put on Instagram, because it's going to get you a lot more attention with social media. And that one conversation changed the entire direction of our brand name and our brand identity and the type of product that we were offering and how we were going to present it to people, because that just wasn't something that's crossed my mind. So we don't have all the answers. We're only one person and we only have a single perspective on things. So just ask for advice and talk to everybody and anyone about what you're planning to do, because you'll be so surprised about the little nuggets of golden information that will come out of those conversations and help you to adjust the direction or future direction of your business.
Thank you. So some really incredible insights there from our panel. I hope you found that really interesting. So we're going to go into the kind of open questions section now. Who wants to kick us off? A burning question that somebody might have. If not, I'll continue with my my Q&A. Yes, at the back, go for it.
So how did you deal with legal works? I mean, when do you outsource legal works to an accountant, or how long do you have to do legal works yourself? I mean, I've got a little business, but I still feel like I'm not doing business yet. Because I take care of the legal works myself. When is that moment you decide to outsource things to someone else to take care of for you?
Yeah. So great question. So at what point do you know to stop doing it yourself and stop doing the accounts yourself and to get external support? Who wants to go for that one? Yeah, go for it, Danielle.
First of all, I think it's a completely valid point, and I think the main thing to note is that there are so many free resources that you can access before you need to start paying for something. So one of the main things that I did differently with Get Stuffed as opposed to the other businesses that I fell into was just spending so much time researching and building a really strong foundation for this business that took into consideration all of the legal considerations and requirements and council regulations and everything else to make sure that I didn't get caught out down the track. And there were a lot of resources that I found through courses like the Visionnaires Startup Step Up program, a lot of the courses through the British Library. Luckily for me, I was starting my business, or unluckily, during COVID, so a lot of people were realigning their careers, and because of that, there is so much free information that's accessible out there. So for example, the British Library has like an IP centre, and I had a call with them because I had no idea about trademarking, and I had a call with them. They put me onto somebody who gave me an hour's worth of free advice about what I needed to trademark, how to do it, how to apply, how much it's going to cost me, what classifications I needed to trademark, and all of the rest. And then they gave me the resource of a link on a particular website which had a list of legal firms who worked in trademarking that they had a free 20-minute consult, and I just went down the list and called until somebody said they'd talk to me, and that person spent 2 hours at separate times on the phone with me talking about my specific issue and was really happy to give up his time with nothing expected out of that. So really, really, really milk the free resources that are available. It might take a bit of time to research and find them, but it's been an absolute godsend for someone who doesn't have millions in the bank to start paying for that kind of thing.
Great, thank you. And just on accounting, get yourself a good but relatively affordable online accounting package that you can understand, and don't leave it till the end of the year to worry about your receipts and whatnot. It becomes a huge task if you turn up to your accountants with a black bin liner full of receipts. Whereas if you've done it every month, you'd be far more grateful for it. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. Anyone else who wants to come in on that one? What point to outsource or access professional help, like for accountancy?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I recognise is even sometimes when there are things that you can do yourself, you've got to really decide whether that's the best use of your time. And so that might be the point at which you decide that to outsource it. So I, for the first 3 years, used an accountant. Then I learned enough about it to be able to do my own. But then I recognised that actually it was better for somebody else to do that and me to use that time to do something else. Yeah. And also, if it's an area where you're really unsure of legalities, it's always better to get advice. And as you've mentioned already, there's lots of freebies available, but you need to do the research and find the best. But I think that's a point at which I decided to outsource work. Yeah.
Can I just jump in on that quickly?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it there, Casita. I think that when you put a value on your time and you figure out how much your own time is worth, that's exactly the point where you understand, okay, actually, if my time is worth £50 an hour and I've just spent 12 hours trying to learn how to do Facebook ads and I still am shit at it, what's the point? I just had a friend of mine in Australia who she did that same thing. She's invested thousands of dollars to learn how to do Facebook ads with an agency that's taught her how to do it. But now she's reached the point where it's going to take her so much time to execute that each week, and she's still not an expert. And now she's back to square one, where she's going to start using GrowMofo because she has recognised that her time is better spent elsewhere. So stick to your lane and figure out what you're really good at and make the most of the time that you have to focus on those things. And if it's something that's so far out of your realm that you're going to have to spend all your time learning about it, and when you do it, you're still not going to execute it that well, that's probably the point that you should look to outsource.
Great stuff. Thank you. Another question. Who wants to go next? Yeah, at the front, and then we'll go there. You go for it.
Hi. Sorry, I might have missed a bit. I'm just wondering, I run a small food business, and I have a tiny problem that I cannot cook. So I came here, I saw this Unloc by the next to Kingsway, which is like catering kind of a school. I'm just wondering, what's your connection with the alumni and to the school?
To the school. Okay, great question. I might actually divert that to Pablo, if that's okay.
Shall I?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm just substituting a panel member in. Go for it.
Okay, quick start. So we were originally founded by the group that Westminster Kingsway College is part of, the Capital City College Group. And we started piloting the Visionnaires idea of helping people like we're doing today, talking about entrepreneurship, providing programs, resources, etc. 2 years ago, and we are now owned by a group of colleges because we're now spreading our wings, going to other colleges as well. So Capital City College Group, including Westminster Kingsway, own us, but other colleges own bits of us as well. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
And we see,
And
by the way, we see lots of people, partly probably because of Westminster Kingsway, who come to us running food type businesses. You know, like Danny's one of those folk that's worked with us. So we're very used to dealing with that industry in lots of different ways.
Yeah, really important point. And I'm in the same boat. I run a very small chocolate company, but I have no idea how to make chocolate. So maybe we can connect in the break. Fab, over. I think we had a question here. Yeah.
Maybe it's any challenge is been COVID-19, the pandemic. I intend to start my own business in the same area, targeting the children in school. At this perfect period of uncertainty with COVID-19, which is still rampant, do you think it's viable to start that business?
I think that's a question for you, Phoebe.
That's a hard question.
No pressure.
It's a hard question because I sort of said two opposite things, didn't I? Because I was like, just start, just do it. And then I've just said, oh, my business has absolutely failed in COVID-19.
Can I get you to...
Yeah, sorry. I think what you really need to do is do your research into who you're going to be working with, your market research, and your finances. That I feel like that's the best advice I can give. Obviously, yes, start, but don't start at the detriment of, okay, you've lost all your money and you're going to be kicked out your house kind of thing. I think really do your market research before even considering. I think the trouble with schools and education generally, which I struggle with my performing arts school, is they don't have a lot of money to spend on external. So we always go in and do free workshops for schools, because then we will do days of free workshops and then get 20 kids sign up to classes out of it. So we do something for free and then get something back. The schools can't necessarily pay for the workshops unless you can get funded, etc., by the local county council. It's a whole another kind of ball game. So I think really just do your market research before jumping into it. That's my advice, if that's any help at all.
Fab. And I would also challenge you to think about what your COVID-19 alternative is. So what could you do in the event that restrictions are reintroduced? We hope we don't get to that point, but what's the COVID-19 alternative? Is there an online model you could deliver, and think through all those different scenarios? In relation to making money from schools and colleges, that's how I make my money, and I'm really happy to share some of the mixed funding models you can use in the education space to create sustainable programs. So money might not necessarily just be coming from a school or college. It could be coming from multiple sources to fund one product or service, which is largely how we sustain ourselves. Okay, other questions? Yes, right at the back.
Hello, my name is Jeet. Just two questions. First one is mainly, I think Daniel touched base on the loneliness isolation.
Yeah.
Lonely journey. I qualified as a CMAP coordinator this year, January. And just last week I got my completed certificate as well, so I'm starting now my own business. Consultancy starting in January, just got the offer through this morning.
Congratulations.
So thank you. Question to you is, first one only that's something I've noticed over this last 12 months. It's too much of time. Not giving enough time to the family, especially I've got a 7-year-old keep telling me, Daddy, you're not spending time with me. So that is about emotional connect I could felt when you were talking about that loneliness, how to overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second piece will be, Phoebe, you were talking about networking and stuff. So how can I get successful in getting those networking? What sort of things I can do to make success?
Wonderful. Great questions. Thank you. Really useful insights. Danielle, do you want to go and then we'll go to Casita?
I think the loneliness side of things, there is support out there and there are people who are on the same page as you who are out there, and it might even be something as simple as, I've just spent the last, half an hour or an hour this morning looking on LinkedIn for groups of female founders. There's a lot of really, really great Facebook groups about people who are in food businesses. There's a group called the Food Hub, which has tens of thousands of members all across the UK, and anytime I need to, like for example, we were doing our Christmas hampers, I didn't know what to put in there. I put a post on there and people started engaging, and from that I found people who were in a similar industry to me and understand what I'm going through, and we've kind of networked in that way. So there is a lot of virtual support out there. To be completely honest though, I still do feel isolated a lot of the time. I'm sitting in a commercial kitchen with no natural light by myself. I'm still the one making the boxes a lot of the time by myself. So again, I think it's just having those people that I'm honest with, my best friend and my partner and my friends who know that I get a bit lonely there sometimes, and they'll give me a buzz, or when I call them, happy to have each other just on FaceTime while we're doing our own thing. So even though it's virtual, it still does make a difference. So you don't have to kind of completely have that separation between, okay, business now and family now. Integrate your family into what you're doing, or ask them to sit with you while you're working on whatever you're working on, because really they just want to be physically with you, even if you can't give all of your time and attention. Yeah.
Casita, did you want to come in on that?
No, sorry. The only thing to add to that, obviously you've got a young child. I think when I was really developing my business, my son at the time was just under a year old when I got my first contract. And what I tried to do is give him the time in the afternoons, and I would actually concentrate early evening to actually work on it, so that he was asleep and I could concentrate on that time and didn't feel that pull. Because you do feel guilty. I could hear it in your voice when you said it. My son says, Daddy, it's difficult, because it really is all on you. You've got to develop all the different areas of your business by yourself. But I think it's also, important to try and have that balance, and it might be juggling your hours of work, if you can, around your business, so that maybe you're doing things earlier on in the morning if you can, and maybe later in the evening without burning yourself out.
Super. And my 2 pence just to add to that, because it's certainly a frustration I know my partner has with me on a very frequent occasion. I think 2 things that have helped me out is, one is having really honest conversations when I know I'm going into a busy week. So giving her the heads up that I'm probably not going to be around much, and letting her know, what the opportunities will be to regain time at a later point, and also to have opportunities to completely switch off, and accept that you can take a couple of days away from your business. The world won't collapse. I've been in that situation where I've gone away on holiday for 3 days, and I've been sat on a sunbed writing a proposal to a client. And my partner has said, well, you might as well just be in the office then. And if you get to that point, you've got to shut that laptop and create some boundaries for yourself, yeah? But thank you, a really, really fabulous question. I hope everyone else found that valuable as well. Any other questions from the audience then? So we've got one here, so we'll go here, and then we'll go here.
I was wondering how you started your websites, and for those that are running the online stuff, and how you developed an online presence.
Great question.
So website, I learned it myself. I found someone in the local area who could host my website for me and bought my domain name for me, and he was like, here's WordPress, and I was like, oh my god, if anybody's ever used WordPress, just don't do it. It's just, they say they're user friendly, but it's, you can literally press one button, you're in like 3 different websites somewhere else. I learnt it myself, so I did take the time to, I think growing up with technology and being younger did help with the fact that I could pick up things easily. Literally would YouTube how to do this on a WordPress website or how to do this on a WordPress website. And then when I became more established, it was actually probably only 6 months ago, I paid someone to redesign the website and redo it. And I literally just know now how to update the website when we've got new classes on, etc. So I think websites are always a funny thing, because you always feel like you have to spend thousands of pounds to pay for someone to do your website, where you really, really don't. You can literally pay £15 a month for a website to be hosted, even probably less actually, and be able to do it yourself really, really easily. And social presence, social media, I've always been into social media. I've got social media for the business, and I've got my own personal brand social media, if you like. It's just being super, super consistent. That's how you build up a presence. Even if it's only posting once a week, keep posting once a week. There's no point posting 5 times in a week and then not even revisiting Instagram for 5 weeks. If you know, I don't know how much everybody knows about algorithms and stuff. I've learned a lot about it recently, but that's why they say consistency is key, because Instagram, Facebook, all of those will just then put you up the rankings, because it will realise that you are being consistent and active. So just the consistency is key. Do not try and do LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just pick 2 really big ones maybe, and then, so mine are Instagram and Facebook for the business, and then I've got LinkedIn and Instagram for my personal, and just really, really honing in on those skills. There are so many free courses, but also really cheap courses. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's called Udemy or Udemy.
Udemy, yeah.
Yeah. Literally hundreds of thousands of courses on anything ever in the whole world. Literally from £5 to £100,000. You can buy crazy courses on social networking and stuff. Really, really recommend it. And just recommend just delving into Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and just looking a little bit deeper than the face of it. And I think that's what I've got to say about social media and websites.
Great. Do you want to come in on this one?
Yes. A lot to say, so I'm going to keep it concise. The first thing is, I'm grateful that you asked that question, because it is imperative for every single person in this room to have a digital presence for your business. If you're thinking you don't need one, I'm sorry, you need one. Everybody needs one. You don't need everything though, and Phoebe was spot on with everything that she just said there. The only thing I would add is that when you choose the digital platforms that you want to play on, choose the platforms based on where your target audience is spending their time, not just on what you want to create content on. So if you have a business-to-business offering, you don't necessarily need an Instagram page, you need a LinkedIn page. So when you choose your social networks, I agree, 1 or 2, do them properly and do them consistently. Everything you said was perfect. With if you're going to post once a week or even once a fortnight, just stick with that. Don't overcommit yourself at the start. But also just keep in mind that you don't necessarily, this may be a bit controversial, but you don't necessarily need a website straight away depending on what you are offering. So Instagram has really become a business, almost like the equivalent of your landing page, right? Your feed on Instagram is almost the equivalent of a landing page. So if you're doing something that's more of an e-commerce focus as opposed to like a service-based business, if you're worried about where to spend your time and money, get started on Instagram. It might take a little bit of time. It's not something that's going to pick up straight away, and it is something that you have to invest your time into to grow, and you have to post consistently to grow it. But over time, you can actually sell directly through Instagram. So instead of spending £5,000 trying to find someone to create a website and doing, going down a really long route where it might take 6 months for that to be finalised, you can get started on a platform that's much more easy and easily accessible to use, as opposed to doing the website. And the other thing is, you don't actually have to pay. I paid €480 for my website. I just found someone who was a friend of a friend, and you know, she did an amazing job. I just needed a basic website with a landing page, and she taught me how to, like you said, Phoebe, update it. So every time I need something changed, I don't need to pay someone to do it. I use Shopify. I really like Shopify. They've got a live chat, and every time I need help, someone's on the live chat straight away, and they've got a lot of easy tutorials. They've got a lot of apps and plugins to do all of the extra bits that you need to do. So yeah, find someone who can design your website. Just don't use someone that nobody you know has used, because I know so many people have been burned by web designers. So always go through referral for website. And yeah, just get them to show you, you know, once they hand everything over, get them to show you, this is how you change this is how you tweak this, so that you can actually maintain control of that on an ongoing basis. And sorry, one last thing with website is always make sure that in your quote you have a few rounds of changes included in your quote, because they're never going to nail it the first time. So they need to create a first draft, and this goes for any kind of design work, I guess. They need to create a first draft, and you need to have 1 to 2 rounds of changes built into that price, because otherwise it's going to get really expensive if they charge you every single time they need to change it, and they're never going to get it perfect in the first go.
Great, thank you. Some really good insights, and yeah, I share some of those experiences. If a web designer has a piece of kit that only they can understand, then it's probably not the right fit. It needs to be something you're able to maintain and develop and evolve. I think we had another question at the front, and then there was also, we had one here, didn't we? And then there's some questions at the back. So we'll go here and then over there. Wonderful.
I wanted to ask a question regarding 3 parameters. I don't know if you feel if they are important. Like before you start a business, do you think what you should do, what you should not do, and then the strategy in regards to bad or good strategy? Do you think those things are important?
Okay. So just to clarify, you're saying you think it's worth reflecting on?
Yeah, like if you want to start a business, like you need to like create a boundary, what you shouldn't do regarding that business, and what you should do, and then the strategy which maybe you discover some flaws. Let me just call it bad strategy, and then the challenges which you talked about. Those challenges, the way you are going to try to get those, use a strategy to get those bad strategy rectified.
I think I understand you. So should you spend as much time identifying what you shouldn't do in your strategy as you should the things you should be proactively doing? So we want to come in on that one.
If I'm understanding your question right, one of the things that we advise all the new businesses that come on the Start Your Own Business course to do is to think about test trading. So they may offer on a very small level before you've invested too much money and time. You would have a plan. It's always important to have a business plan. And a business plan, most people think of a business plan as something that you use to try and get funding or money. And it can be used for that, but it can also be a plan for you to structure your journey, your path from your idea to starting your own business. So I would say you've got your business plan. I would say that's a good thing to have before you start. And the second thing is to think about test trading, and then you can use the test trading to actually test all of the things that you've actually got within your business plan, under the marketing strategy, the financial strategy, the action points. I don't know if that helps a little bit.
It does.
And I think testing, what you picked up on there around testing assumptions is really important. Test trading is one way to do that, but also getting other people to look at your business plan and to be a critical friend, to kind of ask those coaching questions. You know, why have you come to that conclusion? How did you identify that particular section of your target market? You know, I think we spoke at length about it. Often friends and family will want to give you the right answer, or the answer that they think is the right answer to please you, rather than the one that is actually most helpful in terms of your own journey. Question at the back there, great.
Hi there, I think you're really onto the question in terms of the business plan. So what do you think as a startup, especially as an online company, will be the key points and the key parts of your business plan, maybe to focus on a bit more? And also leading on to that, as a university student myself and starting businesses, I'm finding it quite hard to manage my time. What is your day-to-day life like looking in your businesses, and how do you manage your time? Yes.
Great questions. So first one is, what areas should we focus on, spend most time on, particularly in the context of a business plan?
I feel like, Cass, you've got to take that one because that's what you're teaching everybody.
The whole of the business plan is important, but for me, the two aspects that are the most important. So you've got your vision, which talks about what the business is, what you're offering, and then the marketing and the finance. For me, I'd say the marketing and the finance is where I would concentrate most of the time, because you really need to get those two things right. Pricing. Often, I've had the situation where people will come to me and they've got pricing and they've got their business, they've got cash flow, and they think, well, look, I'm not really making any money. There might be a number of hidden costs that they haven't accounted for. So I think finance and really focusing on that is important. And I also think your marketing, because no matter how great an idea you have, people have got to know about it. You've got to use the right channels, as both of these two have talked about. So for me, it would be those two areas, money and marketing.
Wonderful, Casita, thank you. Really great insights.
Just to throw one thing in on there, your business plan is something that I thought I had to have perfect before I launched my business, but no, that is something that's always going to be changing, and you're never going to get it perfect, and your business is a growing and moving thing, so don't feel like, and this is something that held me back a little bit at the start, I felt like I couldn't press go until that was perfect, but it held me back. Like Phoebe said, sometimes you just got to get the basics down, so great question to ask, and then start and then figure it out. And then if you do want to go for funding or whatever that might look like and whatever purposes you use it for later, then you can fill in the gaps. And one more thing with the business plan is it leads into the previous question. It's all about strategy. That is your strategy of how your business is going to run. And it also, if you have a really clear business plan, it also tells you what you want to do, but it also tells you what you aren't going to do. So for example, one of Luke's best mates owns an alcohol company, but I only wanted to use suppliers who grow, for our wine, that grow their grapes locally within the UK because it aligns with our vision. And I was not willing to compromise on that. And people recognise that, that fact about us. And it just makes it easier if you have a really clear plan for your business to know which directions to go in and also to know what to avoid.
Fabulous, really good insights there. And a tip on business planning, if you're at very early stage, there's a tool called the Business Model Canvas. I absolutely love it. It's a really simple one-page template that you can use to start understanding how your business model works before you then launch into a full business plan. I think there might be one up on the wall there. I've got loads of copies with me actually from a workshop earlier today, but there we are. In kind of QVC style, it's just a really helpful tool to visualise your business model on one page of paper before you then dive into the meatier business plan. And if anyone wants one, I've got a whole bag full of them.
Can I comment on the university
Yes,
thing?
managing time.
So I ran my business whilst I was I started my business when I was 17 going on 18 in my gap year. And then ran my business throughout university, and it's really, really, really tough. Like, no doubt it's tough. And then my third year, my final year, where it was so hard because I had all these big projects going on, and then that was the year where this other lady came up to me and said, "Oh, can you take over my business?" And I was like, "Great, but this is my third and final year of uni. But those opportunities, take them and run with them. Time management is hard. It's really hard." I was dealing with legals and rebranding, and on my third year of university I was commuting from Oxford to Hendon back to and from every single day, but you can do it. You just need to give yourself time on a Sunday. Always on a Sunday I sit down with my planner. I've got a weekly planner, Monday to Sunday, exactly where you are when, even planning in times that you're travelling, times that you want to sit down for an hour by yourself and do nothing. Plan it into your week, because you really, really need to do that. It's not impossible and it's tough, but the more you plan, there's that quote, fail to plan and plan to fail, whatever. It's so true. It's so, just plan to an inch of your life, your days, and just know that it's not going to last forever. It won't be like that forever. University is such a short amount of time, and it will go so quickly, and by the end of it you'll come out and your business will be absolutely thriving. So yeah. You'll be fine.
Great insight. You know, really wonderful insight there. You know, and what a great time to kind of test your ideas whilst you're still studying. Actually, a great time to kind of get a running start, if you like. The other thing I would add on universities is they often have incubator labs, on enterprise support programs that you can tap into, and not all, but a lot of universities also have grant money that they can give you. So if you've not checked that out already, I'd really encourage you to go back to university and do that. So we've got 10 minutes left at this point. We've had really, really interesting discussion and insight so far. Have we got any final questions? Probably take 2 or 3. So we've got one there, and then we'll go here. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
So, I just wanted to ask, if you have a really great idea, but you just don't have equity, where do you start?
Okay. Yeah, do you want to go for it?
Go, well, I would say don't let that put you off, because you may find that you need a lot less money than what you think you need, depending on what the business is. It really depends on what your idea is. So you may find that you don't need as much money as you think you do, and if you do need money, there's places where you could get funding from. There's grants, there's business startup loans, but we always advise everyone to try and keep those costs low to begin with. Really try to keep them as low as possible. And some have talked about the fact that you can actually start a business and use marketing that's free, like Instagram. It's going to cost you your time. And even a Facebook business page, the amount of money that you spend will be minimal. It's really your time. So I would say, depending on what your business is, to look at developing that, even though you don't have a lot of equity, because there's ways in which we can make that happen for you. There's lots of other options. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to come in on that?
Yeah, I think the other thing I'd say is you don't always have to be a one-man show. So similarly with what happened with me, as you know, I don't know how to save money, I don't even know how to count 10. So I was never going to be the one to put all of the financial backing into my business, but I was able to work with people or share my passion for what I was trying to do, and people bought into me. And that's the same thing that's going to happen if you do go for, any of you go for fundraising, you know, down the track. They're not buying into, yes, it's about the idea, but it's about the person behind the idea. So if you have an amazing idea, you've already said, I've got an amazing idea, I don't even know what it is, but I want to hear about it. People buy into you as a person, so don't be scared to share that and try and find somebody to come on board who has the money, potentially, to help support that journey for you.
Great, super. And on funding, there are a whole range of low-cost loans, crowdfunding, grant programs that exist in London. In fact, I have a handout. God, I feel like I'm the handout man today. But I've got a handout that's helpful with thinking about other funding streams that you might be able to tap into. The world of funding startups is now more democratic than it ever has been. So I think actually it's a great time if you're looking for external finance to be able to leverage that. Okay, we had a question here. Wonderful.
So my question is, because you say that as I want to,
it's okay.
So you said that you start your business at 18 years old, but I'm still a student as well. So my question is, as a young age, how did you like the funds for bringing your business?
So to start my business, I needed £30, and I asked my mum. So all I needed was to pay £30 up front to hire a venue to teach my class in, and I taught it. So that's all I needed. Obviously, many businesses don't start like that. Obviously, you have things that you need to buy and purchase. I didn't need that. I just needed my knowledge and a space to do it in. So I think you can do so much for free, like Danny was saying. Call on your network. If you have a network, find a network. People will do things for free for you. Like my mum, she worked in in another college in London, and I sneakily asked her, and she got some flyers printed for me. So it's just being a bit cheeky and a bit naughty when you first start your business, and calling on friends and free help and volunteers. I'm just lucky enough that I'm a service-based business, so I didn't actually physically have a product that I needed to get out. I could literally, and then once I got the money in from the students who were paying to be in the class, then that paid off the venue, and then I could pay myself at the end of it, if that makes sense. So I know it's different with product-based businesses, so I don't know.
Great, super. I'm going to prepare our panel now. I'm going to ask you just to think about a final word, maybe a sentence or a phrase, something you want to leave our audience with today that will hopefully inspire them, empower them, or they'll find useful. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a chance to reflect on that. Whilst our wonderful panel does that, a reminder, guys, that once we finish this panel session, there'll be an opportunity to network. There are some refreshments at the back of the room. I'd really encourage you to network, have something to give. So what can you contribute to other people in this room, but also what do you want to get? What skills, what expertise, what knowledge, what networks do you want to gain? And finally, keep in touch with us at Visionnaires. You can, of course, follow us on LinkedIn and all our various channels, and do engage with us on all our social channels as well, and promote your attendance today. We talked a lot about free marketing, free advertising. Great opportunity today to do exactly that. So please make the most of the incredible opportunity we have before us. Okay, the final word. We'll start with Danielle.
Sure. Again, I've got so many things I want to say, but the main thing and the quote that I live my life by is similar to what you just said, Phoebe. You don't ask, you don't get. Put yourself out there and ask for help. The reason I'm standing here today is because I did the Startup Step Up program, which was great for me, but a lot of people in that program are doing it as a side hustle, and I was doing this business as my main hustle, so I was a little bit further along, and by the time I got to the end of that, I needed some more support. And so I reached out to Pablo and had a Zoom call with him, and he said, oh wow, I didn't really realise that you were that far along. We're actually going to be trialling in an incubator program. Would you be interested to be involved? And absolutely, I was. Yes, for sure. I said yes to that opportunity, and I say yes to any opportunity that comes my way, because you don't know what could happen. So just put yourself out there and ask. You don't ask, you don't get, and you'll be amazed by what you can achieve if you just ask for help.
Thank you.
I think do not start a business unless you're ready to have a cry or a mental breakdown at least like once a week. It's just part and parcel of the job.
Look at Luke nodding like yes.
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind is resilience. Like you will get knocked back over and over and over. I started my business very young, and people didn't take me seriously because I was a young girl who started a business, and I was like, well, I know just as much as you do. Like it's what Danny said, not taking no for an answer, being resilient, keep going, keep pushing every day, even on the days where you're like, I actually physically can't get out of bed today. Just getting out of bed, if you're working by yourself and working for yourself, is enough for that day. And if that's all you need to do, just do that and be resilient.
Wonderful. Thank you.
It's okay to cry.
I would say fear. Don't let fear stop you. The what ifs. The what ifs can be such a barrier. You really need to just kick those what ifs out of the way and start and be prepared to be adaptable. So if you've made a plan, and it's important to have a plan, what did the famous King Solomon say? The plans of the diligent will surely succeed. So you need to be diligent, have a plan, but you've got to be flexible, be kind to yourself. So if it doesn't work going in that path and you've got to take a turn this way or a turn that way, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work. It doesn't mean that you're going to fail. You've just got to be adaptable, and actually doing that at the beginning is a good skill to learn, because throughout your business journey as an entrepreneur, you will need to continue to be adaptable. So be adaptable, but also be kind to yourself.
Absolutely fabulous. Really good insights. And my final word is hopefully bringing some of these threads together is go for it and enjoy the journey. You'll learn something new every single day, and you'll be challenged, and you'll have those moments of mental breakdown, I'm sure.
Many.
But I'm sure you will also have moments of pure joy when you read those client comments, when you see the impact you've had. And on that note, I'm going to hand back over to Pablo.
Thank you. So look, I'm just going to say a few thank yous before we break for networking. If you need to go, that's fine, but if you want to network, I think I heard the message, networking is really important.
It's quite important,
I 17 times. Here we are, here is your resource. So I want to start by just thanking Hayden, Casita, Phoebe and Danny. What a phenomenal panel. Thank you so much indeed. So I was planning mental breakdown today because we put so much work into putting together this week all the events that we're doing today. We've got another one tomorrow. I hope some of you are coming to that on sales and growth. We've got another one Wednesday on money. I hope you're coming to that. Another one on Thursday about making a pitch. By the way, on Thursday, if you're coming to the Thursday one, there's a chance to make a pitch for your business. And the winner will get 2 free coaching sessions with our incubator. So if you want to do that, please let Anna or Bal know at the back. They're waving their hands there, look round. So register your name with them and we'll figure out a way that you can make that pitch. And if there are too many people on place, we'll work out a way of doing it in another way. But please let them know. So it's a chance to really practice what does your business sound like. So my mental breakdown was, will anybody come? And here you are. Thank you. Will the panellists be okay? Will they get here? I know, sort of Casita's come a long way, Hayden's come a long way, and he's doing a load of other events as well with the amazing Unloc business this week. You guys are busy with your businesses and here you are. So I'm so grateful. I'm very grateful particularly to Amanda of theirs who runs our incubator, is doing brilliant work, so she's been taking care of Danny particularly. I really want to thank Anna, our intern, who's going to become a professional chef later this year. And a massive thanks to Val, who's standing there very modestly. She's made all this happen, so you saved me from my nervous breakdown. There's some other folk in the room. There's one of our mentors, Azim, who's kindly come along. So he's one of our mentors. So grab him. He's a finance professional, he's been a brilliant mentor, and he has very little time, so you'll have to speak very quickly when you speak to him. We've got Andrew here as well, who's one of our program partners, who also runs our programs and is another of our experts who is helping people with their businesses. And Leo, who's been looking the other way the whole time, he's actually, because we're filming all this, and so he's been but you will be able to see the film on YouTube after today. You will. So if you missed anything or you kind of went, oh, what was that bit? We'll send you those links so you can catch up on that, so you can see that as well. So the final thing I must say is that we would love your feedback. Feedback that's how you run an amazing organisation. Feedback is massive fuel. Probably top 2 of my list. Networking, did we mention that? Yeah. 2, feedback. So we'd love your feedback. So you will get an online form on Friday to feedback to us. And as part of that, you will be invited, when you get your feedback, you'll be invited. We've got another seminar with Amazon, which will be an online seminar, an hour and a half on the 2nd of December at 4 o'clock. So when you give us your feedback, you'll get an invitation to that with an amazing guy who runs Amazon's education and research technology. So we run those every now and then, so please do that. So thank you all, thank you to the panel. Is there anything else? What have I forgotten?
Thank you to Westminster City Council
for that. Westminster City Council.
A big thank you, and the insight wall as well. So we've got a little inspiration wall. So before you leave today, a quote you've pulled out, something you found interesting, pop it on the wall. Love that, and thank you, Pablo, as well.
Yes, please go on.
Hi guys, my name is Rufo, and I work at Westminster City Council in external funding, and we understand how difficult it can be to find funding for your business. So the council, with a company called iDocs, launched an online grant search tool on our website. It's free to use if you have a business or community organization in Westminster, and with that you will be able to find the funding for your business or community organization. If you have any questions, please find me after the
Great.
That's what I need.
Okay, so if you need to leave, leave. If you want to start a business, network. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.